Imagine you're lost at sea. No map, no compass. Just endless waves and a sky that looks all the same. Disorienting, uncertain, like you're searching for direction in a world that just keeps changing. What if I told you there's a kind of map out there, not for literal places, but for navigating the complexities of being human? I'm Alexander Turner, and this is The Classics. So what is a classic, really? It's a question people have been asking for a long time. Italo Calvino wrote, in his essay Why Read the Classics, that a classic is a book that has never finished saying what it has to say. They're books that speak across time to generation after generation, and a key part of their power lies in imagination. But that's not all. It lets us explore different perspectives, inhabit different lives, and understand the human experience in a way we never could through our own direct experience alone. And that's why classics might just be more relevant to your life than you think. We all want to get better, right? Improve ourselves. We work on our bodies, learn new skills, try to get ahead. One of the most important things you can work on is your understanding of yourself. Self-awareness. It's like the starting point for everything else. Classics, they can actually help you with this. Think about the Odyssey. Odysseus is on this crazy long journey and he's constantly learning about himself. He sees his strengths, he's smart, he's brave, but he also sees his weaknesses. He can be arrogant, he can lose his temper. We all have flaws, we all have strengths. Classics just help us see them more clearly. Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice starts out pretty sure she's right about everything, but she learns she's got her own prejudices. She has to rethink her assumptions about people. And David Copperfield in his story is always trying to figure out who he is, what he wants as he goes through life. These books show us that self-awareness isn't a destination, it's a process. It's something that you work at just like anything else. So you understand yourself better. What next? Motivation, that inner drive to actually do something, to move forward. Classics are full of characters who are driven, for better or worse. Think about Satan, Paradise Lost. He's the bad guy, sure, but it makes you think about what motivates you, what drives your action. Faust wants to know everything, experience everything. He's restless, always searching. And Robinson Crusoe? He just wants to live. He's stranded, alone, but he finds a motivation to build a life from nothing. These characters, even the flawed ones, show us the power of human drive. They make you think about what you want to achieve, what your purpose is, and finally, reliance. Life's hard. Things go wrong. You need to be able to rely on yourself to get through it. Classics show us that reliance and resilience isn't about being a superhero. It's about developing that inner strength we all need to handle whatever life throws at us. We've talked about understanding yourself, but human life isn't a solo act. We're all connected. And understanding other people, that's just as crucial, maybe even more so. And that's where empathy comes in. And guess what? Classics can help you build that muscle too. And it all starts with imagination. Fiction, unlike history, isn't bound by what actually happened. It's born from the writer's imagination. And when we read it, it sparks our own. This act of imaginative engagement is key to developing empathy. Think about Pride and Prejudice. It's like a master class in seeing things from different points of view, because it invites you to imagine yourself as Elizabeth, as Darcy, as any of these characters. You've got all these different people with their own backgrounds, their own social circles, their own way of seeing the world. The whole story is about misunderstandings that happen because people don't see each other's perspectives. Reading it, engaging your imagination to truly enter their world, is like training yourself to step outside of your own head and see things through somebody else's eyes. Even in a dark book like 1984, you get to see the world through Winston's eyes, living in this totally controlled society. It's not a world you'd want to live in, but it makes you think about what it would be like to be someone living under that kind of pressure. It stretches your imagination, and in doing so, stretches your empathy, even for people in situations you can barely imagine. Look, the world is full of all these different kinds of people with different backgrounds and different struggles. And reading it, using your imagination to inhabit their lives and their experiences, helps you realize that everyone's got their own story, their own reasons for why they are the way they are. Classics aren't just about who people are, but why they're that way. They dig into motivation. You start to see why they make those choices, what they're feeling, what they're hoping to achieve. It doesn't mean we agree with them, but as you start to see them as complex characters, it changes them from being cardboard villains. When you read about Anna Karenina's passion or Hamlet's grief, you're exercising your own emotional muscles through imagination. You're expanding your emotional vocabulary, and that makes you better at understanding and responding to the emotions of real people in your own life. Ultimately, reading classics isn't just about understanding characters in books, it's about understanding people through the power of imagination. It's about building empathy. And empathy, it's the foundation of better relationships with your friends, family, partners, and the people you meet in everyday life. Classics help you see the other not as some stranger, but as another human being, just as complex and just as deserving of understanding as you are. We've explored ourselves as individuals and how we relate to each other. Now, let's step back and consider the bigger picture. Classic literature offers us an incredible opportunity to understand the people, societies, cultures, and the enduring human condition across time. Think about the fundamental questions that have always preoccupied humanity. What is justice? What is power? What does it mean to live a good life? Classics don't provide simple answers, but they do reveal how different societies and thinkers have grappled with these themes throughout history. Themes like love, loss, ambition, and morality resonate across centuries because they're deeply woven into the fabric of human experience. They are, in essence, timeless. By reading these works, we gain a deeper understanding of the diverse ways human societies have been structured, and the cultural forces that shape human experience, and the societal consequences that can follow. But perhaps the most crucial insight classics offer about the people comes from dystopian fiction, from books like 1984 and Brave New World. These are not just chilling stories about an imagined future, they are warnings, flashing red lights about potential paths humanity could take. 1984 screams at us about the dangers of totalitarianism, surrendering truth and individual thought through the state. Brave New World cautions us against a different type of dystopia, one built on pleasure and technological control, where genuine human connection and freedom wither away. These books are uncomfortable, they're disturbing, and that's precisely their power. They're not just reflections of society, they're challenges to society. They're not just warnings, they're impetus to actively create a better, more just world. To ensure these fictional nightmares do not become our reality. Because understanding the people through classics isn't just about analyzing the past or dissecting the present, it's about shaping the future. It's about recognizing the potential for both darkness and light within humanity, and choosing, consciously and actively, to build a world that reflects our highest ideals. These classics, especially these dystopian warnings, empower us to do that work. They challenge us to be better, to strive for better, to create a better world for all of humanity. Let's be honest, when you talk about reading the classics, you might get some pushback. People have questions, fair enough. And let's tackle some of those most common criticisms head on. First one, classics are old and irrelevant. Why bother with books written hundreds of years ago? The world's totally different now, and I get it. Think about it. Are human emotions outdated? Is love outdated? Is loss outdated? Is the struggle for justice outdated? No way. Classics grab hold of these timeless human experiences. They show us how people have wrestled with these things forever. And that's incredibly relevant, especially when the world feels like it's changing too fast. Criticism number 2. Classics are just too difficult and boring. Archaic language, slow plots. Give me Netflix any day. Yeah, well, they can be challenging at first. It's like learning a new skill. It takes effort, but that's part of the point. It's like a mental workout. It stretches your brain. And boring? Come on, have you actually tried reading the Odyssey? Sword fights, monsters, shipwrecks, love, betrayal. It's got everything. You just have to give it a chance, approach it with curiosity, not like it's homework. Then there's the elitist thing. Classics are just for snobs, for fancy universities. They're not accessible to regular people. And that used to be true, maybe, but now? Books are everywhere. Think about it. Libraries are free, online repositories offer countless classics at your fingertips. People share books all the time. Classics are actually one of the most accessible resources out there, not the least. They're more available now than ever before. The idea that they're locked away in some ivory tower, that's just not true anymore. And finally, they're just more relevant things to read. Why read fiction when I could be learning to code or reading the news or, learning something useful? Practical skills are crucial. No argument there. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits, essential to sustain life. Think about why we sustain life. What's the point of it all if it's just about sustaining?
We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
Classics, like poetry, like all great art, tap into those deeper reasons why we're here. They explore passion, beauty, romance, and love, the very things that make our lives worth living. They build your empathy, your critical thinking, your self-awareness, your understanding of the world, those essential human skills. It's not easy, it's not always light reading, but it is rewarding. Because when you read the classics, you're not just reading stories. You're doing something more. You're starting a conversation with yourself about who you are, what drives you, what you're capable of. You're learning to see the world through other eyes, to build empathy, to connect with people on a deeper level, and you're joining a conversation that's been going on for centuries about the big questions, about the human condition, about the societies we build and the worlds we inhabit. Classics aren't just for professors or students or book people. They're for anyone who's curious about life, who wants to understand themselves and the world, at least just a little bit better. So where do you start? You just start. Pick one book that sparks your curiosity. Visit a local library, explore those free websites, ask a friend for a recommendation. Just open a classic and start reading. It may be challenging at first, but stick with it. Give it time. Let it surprise you. Let it change you. Start your journey with classics today. Begin your exploration of yourself, of others, of humanity. The wisdom of centuries is waiting to be discovered. Open the book and begin.